A dark day for democracy in America. Today, the U.S. marks 1 year since the attack on the Capitol Hill building, the insurrection that killed Officer Brian Sicknick, among others. But a year on, how are Americans viewing the infamous insurrection? The Angus Reid Institute released a new poll today on how Americans and Canadians view the January 6th assault. The majority of Canadians and Americans view it as a form of domestic terrorism, but Americans are more split. About 59% of American respondents strongly agree or disagree, compared to 75% of Canadian respondents. So will the U.S. be able to overcome the divisions? Let's just dig into this for a minute. Our special guest is Shachi Kurl, president of the Angus Reid Institute. And Shachi, first of all, Happy New Year to you, and great to have you back.
Thanks.
Give me a sense of what you found when you dug into attitudes towards Jan 6.
So, as you say, the big takeaway here, Evan, is that Canadians and Americans, largely majorities of, see it as domestic terrorism as opposed to other answers that were possible for them. Did they view it as a protest, a genuine attempt to defend democracy? Were they viewing it as a media conspiracy? There are actually a number of people on both sides of the border who actually viewed January 6th that way. But the big takeaway beyond these majorities that see it as domestic terrorism are the political cleavages, again, on both sides of the border. So if you were a Biden voter in the 2020 election, you are overwhelmingly likely to see it as terrorism. Far less so if you voted Trump. On the other side of the political spectrum in this country, again, conservative voters more likely to be divided. Canadian conservative voters more likely to be divided over whether or not this was an act of domestic terrorism, whereas on the left side of the political spectrum, Liberal voters, NDP voters, et cetera, almost entirely unanimous in viewing it again as domestic terrorism. So we are noticing a parallel cleavage, if you will, politically, Evan, as to whether or not it was domestic terrorism, and indeed who won the election. Even questions on that really fall out along political lines, depending, and very similarly, whether you're in the United States or whether you're in Canada.
What strikes me about the poll, Shach, is that even after the events that we saw, the deaths, the horrific images, even that, a year later, is not enough to erase the battle lines, the partisan lines. They remain firm. It didn't pierce the armor of partisanship, did it?
No, it really didn't. And you see that in terms of the way Americans in particular are all in on the notion that polarization is worsening in the United States. But then, of course, there's the whole issue of who's to blame, or, you know, who's the bad guy or the actor or the driver in this. Biden voters firmly believe it's the GOP and the Trump base who say that's the reason polarization is so much worse in the United States today. On the other side, again, of that divide, you do see that Trump voters so much more likely to point the finger at the Democrats, at Biden, at this current White House. So we are now in a period where there seems to be very little middle ground, very little overlapping consensus over what's real, what happened, who won the election. And, you know, so you look for marginal, and you look for sort of little slivers of results to try to see if there's a way out of this, and if there's a place for hope, especially for Americans. Can they find some middle ground? I did note that about a fifth of Trump voters in that 2020 election also said that Biden won. Biden was the rightful winner, which is a big outlier relative to most other GOP voters who are firmly of the belief that Trump won the election. So there you've got about 20% of Republican voters saying, hey, the other guy actually won. Is that something to build on, or is that a segment of the GOP that's going to be drowned out? We don't know.
Well, you know, we used to talk about the two solitudes here in Canada and the United States. They're talking about two different realities. And that's what your poll once again shows. All right, Shachi Kurl from Angus Reid. Shach, great to have you on the program.